Marathon Journeys next year. If we could have a wave from the hosts, please, that would be awesome. Okay, great. And you will see as well underneath the hosts, or after the host name, you'll see the name of their learning marathon as well. So just so there's a little bit more clarity on who is who. Okay, so we're gonna record this session. So if you'd like to watch it back again, or if you've got anyone else that you think would be really interested in it, then you're welcome to send the recording on. Please put yourselves on mute, which you all definitely are right now, so that's fantastic. The session is going to be 2 hours, and we're going to have a wee break, a little break in the middle at the halfway point. So yeah, you can hopefully wait until then, but if you do need to jet, obviously you're totally welcome to head off. And if you have any tech issues or questions, if you're not able to see or hear something, please just message in the chat and we will sort that out for you.
Yes.
Oh, and my name's Anna. I haven't actually introduced myself yet. I'm Anna. I'm one of the host mentors that works with Enroll. So I'm kind of supporting some of the hosts here to launch their learning journeys. And Ellie is also a wonderful host mentor. And we also have Zara in the room, who is the co-founder and director of Enroll Yourself. Cool.
Yeah, hi everyone. As Anna has said, you'll hear from all of the hosts who are here and ready to share the 2021 learning marathons with you. We've already had them waving. And you'll also have a chance a little bit later after the break to have a chat with some of the other cool people who are here who are interested in learning marathons. So you'll get to hear a little bit of their stories as to why they're here, what brings them to this room right now, why they're interested. And that's to give us a little idea of the vibe, the Enroll Yourself vibe. And we normally start with a check-in. I don't know if everyone will be familiar with those, but it's a very simple way of saying how you are landing in the space, getting to hear from everyone. And so with that, we'd love to invite you all to just take a moment to have a little moment to think about 3 words or up to 3 words that might describe how you're feeling today, and write them in the chat so we can hear how everyone is. Zara's flat is cold. It's only Tuesday. Excited, connected, and a little zoomed out. Someone's Christmassy, amazing already. Another cold. Some nice words coming here. Excited and curious, lots of excited people. Sunny, sleepy, and hopeful, lovely. I'd love to be that person. Any more open-minded, refreshed and calm? More excited? Holding it together, oh no. All right, I'm gonna hand back over to Anna. We're gonna do a little energizer.
Yeah, thanks, Ellie. Okay, so in the email we sent that you would need a piece of scrap paper. If you don't have a piece of scrap paper in front of you or next to you, then if you could quickly go and grab one, and when you have it, just wave it in the air like you just don't care. And I think, yeah, that does mean that people without their cameras on might have to turn them on so we can see you waving your paper in the air like you just don't care.
They're making good sounds.
Okay. Yes, Sham. Yes, Phil. Okay, I think most people have got them. I'm just going to start. Yes, that's perfect. Okay, so I'll just start doing the instructions. Hopefully everyone will have one by the time. Oh, Katie's feeling mischievous and also slow. I like that check-in. So we're going to do a small energizer, quick energizer, again, to kind of land us in the room. The idea is that we're going to tear an elephant with this piece of paper, or with your piece of paper, but you're going to do this behind your back, and you're going to have 90 seconds to do so. Okay, so you're going to tear an elephant. When I say yes, no cheating. I can see like concentrating faces already. I'm going to say go. So behind your back, Zara is an expert here. She's standing, and I'm not going to say that that's the best way to do it, but she has done this a few times before. So if you would like to get into position, I'm going to start my timer, and you have 90 seconds starting from now. You're getting all of the sound effects from me. Everyone else is really muted. Yes. I'm loving these concentrating faces, serious elephant fury going on here. I think mine might be two-legged. 40 seconds left. Oh my gosh. 30 seconds left. Can you get a tail on it? That is the question. Oh my gosh. Okay, 10, 9, 8, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and stop. Stop your tearing. Oh my gosh. Okay, after 3, would everyone like to show their elephants? 1, 2, 3. Wow, Rosie, that is like seriously good. Oh yeah, Neil, I'm appreciating that one. That's quite a lot. It looks like it's an eye or a trunk. I can't quite work it out. Nice. Oh wow, look at this. Carolyn's gone for the head. Is that? Oh no, that's actually just the full body. Amazing. Oh my gosh,
Tina's
seriously
so good.
impressive one. Tina, that is ridiculous.
Yeah, it's really lifelike.
Yeah.
Well done, everyone. That is the elephant. That's the elephant energizer. So a little bit of an enroll vibe in the mix. Yeah, the learning marathons by trade will always have these elements of energizing, fun activities that bring people together in a playful way. So we just wanted to give you a little bit of a taste of that this evening, which you'll hopefully feel as we go through the night. Okay, cool. So with no further ado, I'm going to pass over to Zara to introduce the learning marathons and enroll yourself in general.
Great, thank you. Hi, everyone. I'm going to share my screen, or I'm going to try. So I have a new laptop, so bear with me for a second. Let's see if this will work. Oh dear. This is something I should have checked out in advance of this.
Do I need to do something as the host?
I don't think so. I think it's me, actually. Security and privacy. I think it's to do with my new computer. I wonder if I drop a link in, maybe Ellie or Anna, you can present and then I'll tell you to move the slides for me. That might work best. Bear with.
The joys of tech.
The joys of tech. Okay. Here's a link. I can't even paste a link into the chat now. For some reason. Anna, I'm going to send it to you in Slack. Everybody do a little dance.
We could do elephant dances.
Yeah, do some elephant dancing or anything.
Anyone, my elephant is a bit like a seahorse if I turn it up that way. Anyone watching this video back is going to find this hilarious.
Thanks for reminding that it's recorded. It's great.
I did the same thing with butterflies the other day and made this little man.
Wow.
You like fold it in half and tear a
The
butterfly.
link is in Slack, Anna.
Did you do that behind your back, Katie? Or...
Yeah, but it became
Yeah.
this little whirling dervish man.
Nice.
I feel like everyone's getting a real insight into Enroll Yourself, behind the scenes, the adapting to technology that works and sometimes doesn't work, and embracing it and playing in between when we have to.
Are you able to open it, Anna?
Hurrah.
Yay! There you go. Here we are. Next slide, please. Thank you. So yeah, hello to everyone and thank you again for being here, and it's nice to see you, especially at the end of what has been an incredible and very difficult year. It's really cool to be gathering in a space with people thinking about what they're going to do in 2021 and what you might do to make 2021 possibly more beautiful than this year has been. Next slide, please. So just a few words about Enroll Yourself, and then I'm going to speak about the Learning Marathon and what it is. So Enroll Yourself is all about tackling steep learning curves together. The emphasis there really being on the word together. And just like these little birds in the picture, coming together provides some resources for learning which are harder to come by on your own. Next, please. So this is sort of the founding belief for Enroll Yourself, and this is what all our work is about, and that is peer groups, and the belief that peer groups unlock potential that you can't unlock on your own. And I really like the example of water molecules and the idea that hydrogen and oxygen, neither of those displays the property of water when they're on their own, but when they come together, they display those properties. And in the same way, peer groups can be more than the sum of their parts if they have the right support and the right structure around them. So that's what we aim to do in all of our work. Next, please. And so the way that we work, the way that we are putting peer groups out there into the world is by bringing together the people who want to host those peer groups, the people who have energy to connect others, bring them together and guide them through a process of peer learning. And you're going to hear from some of our hosts tonight. And our hosts want you to join them. They are, putting this invitation out in the world, looking for co-learners to join them on an adventure in the new year. Next, please. So yeah, I'm going to talk a bit about the Learning Marathon, principally so that each and every one of our hosts doesn't have to explain it again and again. We'll just do it once. Next, please. So the Learning Marathon is all about providing a structure for peer group learning that supports you to grow what you're capable of, that supports you to develop yourself in whichever way you seek to do. And I think that idea of structure is really important because, as I was talking about before with the idea of water molecules and coming together to produce something of value that you can't find on your own, that is possible with peer groups with a structure to help guide you along the way. Next, please. So it's a tried and tested structure now. So this image shows a whole bunch of our peer groups that we've worked with over the last few years. And I feel a sort of sense of envy looking back at this now, because obviously most of these, apart from the one in the bottom right-hand corner there, are people who are face-to-face. And obviously that is a little bit more restricted at the moment, and lots of the journeys we're going to be doing are online. But actually, you know, it's been really amazing this year to sort of see, well, actually we can replicate what we do in the online space, and even a global pandemic should not stop us coming together with others and doing this type of learning for ourselves. Next one, please. So this is what the Learning Marathon is all about. It's usually 6 months long. It's a peer-led learning accelerator. There's a host and there are lots of peers, so lots of participants, and everyone is learning with and from one another. That's what those lines represent. So there's no one teacher or one tutor. Everyone becomes a teacher and a learner, playing different roles along the way. And the idea is that everyone is pooling their resources to multiply their development. So in practice, what that really means is pooling anything from skills, knowledge, experience, creativity, joy, momentum, whatever it is that you have to offer, that can be of value to someone else. Next, please. There are 3 sort of key ingredients to the Learning Marathon. So the peer group, the people that you're going to spend 6 months learning alongside. The path, I'm going to go over to the right-hand side first. So that's the structure of activities and sessions and workshops that you're going to go through with those peers. And then coming back to the center, a project. So this refers to a goal that you have, whether it be a personal learning goal, whether it be something more professional, whether it's a venture you want to start up, whether it's a side project, whatever it might be, you take that project along this path together with this group of people. Next one, please. And this is what it typically looks like. And when you hear more from some of our hosts in a minute, you might hear a little bit about how some of them are tailoring this structure to meet the needs of the theme that they're focusing on with their peer group. But in general, the way it works is that over 6 months, there are 3 phases. These are based on design thinking phases. But essentially, these phases help to structure your learning and your exploration of your learning question, your project, and help to move you through exploration, development of ideas, and finally working towards the accountability of showcasing something public at the end of the process. Next, please. That 6-month journey is sort of punctuated by a range of different activities and sessions or ingredients. And you can see some of those here. So I'll mention a couple. And there's much more information about all of this on our website as well. But yeah, kickoff weekend where you'd come together with your group for the first time, get to know each other, design some of the rest of the journey together, work out how you're going to work well together. evening meetups, which will be the sort of the spine, the backbone of the whole process. Usually you'll be taking responsibility for one of these yourself, so that responsibility passes around the peer group as people share their knowledge, their experience with one another. Then there are power-up days, so points in the process where you'll share your progress, where you've got to, and everyone else will give you feedback and contribute to what you're doing. And then finally at the end, a showcase event of some nature, so sharing publicly what you've worked on with the world, and then some kind of finish line moment to really reflect on what you've learned, reflect on the process, think about what is coming next. Next slide, please. So what do people get out of it? Next. I was seeing there if I could just like send you the message without saying it, Anna. Clearly we're not very well connected. So I think there are 4 main things to mention that people get out of the Learning Marathon. So this might appear a little bit small, but we can send slides to you after this as well. People come away with relationships. So some of those relationships are friendships, some of them are professional relationships, collaborations, that kind of thing. In the case of people who come into this and they're freelance, sometimes it's paying clients, that kind of thing too. Then there's capabilities and well-being. So there are a lot of different capabilities that you might develop through this process. Some of them are kind of generic and people always develop their ability to collaborate, for example, through this process, but some of them might be linked to the theme of the group that you're interested in. And in terms of well-being, people often report, feeling more purposeful through this process as well. And then the 4th area is projects. So people come out with projects, and those again are going to relate to the theme of the group that you are interested in. Next one. Just let you read that. That was Julian coming out with a business idea. Next one, please. And this was Tom coming out with a portfolio piece, something to show off what he was capable of. And so just to briefly mention the learning question, next please. So you might have already encountered the idea of a learning question on our website and some of the materials. Whichever learning journey you're interested in, whichever host you connect with, they will be asking you to apply with a learning question. That's the sort of the title of your project, the title of your learning inquiry. And so I'm just going to show you a couple of examples of past learning questions so you can get an idea. So this is Kim, and she posed the question, how can I best serve the anti-slavery movement whilst being a successful mother and also earning a living? And through her learning marathon, she developed the idea for something that has now become a social enterprise, a company that she started called Huria. So they are, well, Anna could speak really well to this, but there's a catering company, right? But working with people in a social enterprise model as well. So that's what she developed. Next one, please. Then here's an example of Cass, who had a really different kind of question and a really different kind of outcome from the process. So how can I show that death, dying and grief can still mean life, love and hope? So this was a really personal question for them. They'd experienced bereavement, and their learning marathon was all about exploring this question through creative practice, through art, in order to process that experience. And the image at the top here of the needlework is some of what Cass produced through her learning marathon and showcased at the end of it. Next one, please. And this is Matt. and he has a nice, short, succinct learning question. That's a good thing, by the way. How can we create a life we want to live? And he was really interested in life hacks. So he tried out all manner of different life hacks across his 6-month learning marathon. But in the end, he came up with an idea for an event series, which then became his business afterwards. So he was able to prototype that idea initially with others from his learning marathon and then take it forward afterwards. Next, please. Yeah, for more learning questions, there are hundreds. Every leaf on this vine is a different participant's learning question. And if you head to this URL, we've gathered all the learning questions together, so you can go and have a look at some more for some inspiration if you're interested. Next. And yeah, I think I'll leave the hosts to speak about this, but their brief to you in terms of the learning question might be a bit different theme to theme. But I think they'll come on to that. So let's go to the next one. Yes, and if you need a little bit of help to develop an idea for a learning question, we have a learning question generator on our website. If you click on the menu, you can find it. And this is a little tool where you can play around with some different questions. Next. Okay, great. And then just a few words on the application process as well. So it's really simple. So speak to a host or two, so you're going to hear from some now. Apply via the form on their page. Early birds might get a discount, but speaking to your host to find out all the details is the thing to do. That's supposed to say informal interview. Or maybe that's the application form, but there should be space in the application form to include bursary eligibility, and I'll come on to that in a second. And then they would make offers after that. Next slide, please. Yeah, we've got a whole bunch of bursaries available this year, which is absolutely fantastic. So each of these bursary partners is an organisation that we're working with. And if you head to the next slide, Anna, these are some of the bursaries on offer, but it's also worth speaking to your host for more information. But let's just leave that there for a second so that people can scan it. But yes, that's all from me. So back over to you guys, and let's hear from some hosts.
Thank you, Zara. Okay, so that was a introduction to the learning marathon, to enroll yourself in what we do. We're going to, as Zara said, hear from some of the hosts now. So we've got an ask or an invite to all of you as our audience. There is a Jamboard, which is going to be linked in the chat in just a moment. And essentially, if you have any questions that are coming up as you listen to the hosts, whether it be about their specific learning marathon or whether it be just a general question, maybe for Zara for an enroll as a wider organisation, you can go onto the Jamboard. If you would all like to do that now, that would be great, just so you can familiarise yourself with it. I can see there's quite a lot of anonymous animals in there already. And on the first page, you will see kind of two columns, general questions and questions for hosts. So all you need to do is on the left-hand bar, you'll see 4 kind of icons down. There's a sticky note. You just need to click on the sticky note, write in your question with your name at the front, please. Write in your question. You can save what you've written, and then you just direct it and place it wherever you want it to sit, whether it be under general questions or questions for hosts. If it is a question for a host, please write the name of the host as well, just so we can be really clear. There will be a opportunity for those questions to be answered at the end of the event this evening. Okay, so if there, yeah, are there any questions about that? Can I put that out to the group. If anyone has any questions, just unmute yourself and ask away. No? Okay, fab. So please don't be shy with the questions. The more the merrier. Just want to say that. And yeah, we're going to get started with James. So James, over to you.
Hello. Thanks, Zara, Anna, and everyone for holding the space. Thank you, everyone who's in here, even those I can't see your faces below. I think Zara did a great job of kind of the overview of the whole experience, and I'm going to attempt to zoom in into my specific question, which is going beyond our echo chambers. And you may be wondering kind of what is the relevancy of that, and how does that apply to me and the current state of the world we're in. And I think a good thing for me to do at this point is kind of, I can track you guys back to how I arrived at this question. I've been spending the last 7 years or so exploring different domains. I've been working in music, in charities, in kind of mental health, loads of different fields, kind of purposefully, even before I knew about a term of like designing my own curriculum, I've been designing my kind of way of being. And I would find myself in, let's say, a creative setting, and there was a lot of value in that space, but they rarely spoke to the academics or the mental health folk. And I kind of witnessed the richness in my life for having these multiple perspectives. But I found that in the different silos I was running into, people either thought they didn't have the capacity to be multidimensional, or they thought there's no value on the other side of like everything good is in my corner of the world or in my way of thinking. And I kind of, in this, as I joined the Enroll Yourself experience, I thought, what could have both simultaneously social broad impact and also just on a very personal, practical level, what could people apply on their day-to-day experiences that could enrich both themselves and their professional lives. And I thought about kind of, I keep playing with the different concepts of considering it like being multilingual in both a cognitive and an active way. So we never really think of learning a new language as erasing the language we already have. But a lot of the times, if you're someone in a specific domain or you work in a specific space, you may think doing something else is taking you away from what you have in the moment. But I kind of thought of how can I invite people, even people who don't sign up to my learning marathon, to kind of look at your surroundings and think, what are the elements in other groups that I'm not a part of that I could incorporate in my life? How could I think of this in both an analytical kind of write a list down, and how can I think about this by just, intuitively feeling something? And I think you'll find if you keep going between those two things, you don't end up in one camp. You have a synthesis of the both. And that is what I'm attempting to, I think I've hit time. Thanks, Anna. I noticed. So yeah, that's what I'm attempting to do with my learning marathon. And to make it easy, I've kind of left a link. If anyone wants to sign in, they can just hit that. They can find my page and get in touch. Thank you for your time. I'll pass it on to the next person. Thanks, Anna.
Thanks, James. Amazing. So any questions that you have that are coming for James, coming up for you, please get them onto the Jamboard, and we are going to move on to a good man, Sam. If you are ready to roll, Sam, go for it.
Yes, hello. Hi, sorry if you see my massive finger. It's because I'm using my phone because my laptop screen has failed. So yeah, hope you can hear me and see me. Yeah, thanks everyone for coming. My learning marathon is called Collective Fatherhood. So yeah, I'm a dad. and I found the experience of becoming a dad both incredibly rewarding, really joyful, and also, yeah, quite mysterious and kind of strangely lonely at times as a journey, which I think speaks to something around the culture or lack of culture we have around fatherhood at the moment. So the idea is for this learning marathon is to get a diverse bunch of people identifying as fathers or potential fathers. Could also be people with a research professional interest in fatherhood. Get them together and go on a journey exploring fatherhood, culminating in a showcase on Father's Day 2021, which is when I think we do really have one of the only times of the year where we have a kind of collective focus on fatherhood. So it's going to be a mixture of online and face-to-face meetups, hopefully. So I'm recruiting across the UK. I guess my hope for the project is to do two core things, really. So number one, as I say, just kind of really dig deep into what it means to be a father today. So that might, relate to, for example, the debates around masculinity, around toxic masculinity and patriarchy, and what a healthy masculinity looks like. How does fatherhood relate to that? I don't think we talk about what a healthy masculinity looks like enough. Also, it could be around the kind of cultural narratives we've inherited around fatherhood and how they're evolving, or what fatherhood looks like in different cultures. So this term collective fatherhood, for example, I encountered in a text about fatherhood in the Yoruba tradition in Nigeria, and it almost seems like a kind of strange thing because in that culture we have a very private, personal relationship to child rearing, I think, and particularly with fatherhood, because men tend to keep things to themselves, right? And yeah, if that seems a bit abstract and conceptual, it really is. It's the aim is to keep it really grounded and keep bringing it back to our own experience as dads. Figuring out on the steep learning curve that we're on, often in an isolated way, trying to make that steep learning curve collective. But keep bringing it back to our personal experience, and yeah, try to establish that more kind of grounded collective understanding of fatherhood, and which can establish that ground for us individually, but also potentially. In terms of the learning outcomes, ripple out into our respective communities. Sorry, I ran out of time. Very quickly, and secondly, the idea is also just to model what a collective version of fatherhood looks like. In which fathers are more connected and supported, connected with each other and supportive of each other. Kind of like a men's circle or a father's circle. So those are the two aims of mine. Yeah. So if you are a dad, or if you know any dads, send them my way. Thank you.
That was brilliant, Sam. Thank you so much. We will be putting the full Learning Marathon listings in the chat again at the end of this session, so that return of the giant finger. So that you can easily see and contact and show interest for any of the learning marathons, or pass them to people that you think would be interested in the learning marathons. Okay, next up is Carolyn.
Yeah, thank you, Anna. My name is Carolyn, and I'm based in Berlin, so I will be running the learning marathon in Berlin, kicking off in February. Starting hopefully with a weekend a bit outside of the city. So my hope is really that we can run most of the marathon in real life. I'm really, craving real life connections. And if that's not possible, we will go hybrid or online. But fingers crossed. I'm still hopeful that is possible. Maybe I'll tell you a little bit about myself. I have a background in cultural studies and post-colonial studies, and have then worked in different social enterprises and in leadership education. And I'm currently training as a systemic coach. So I really enjoy supporting people in their processes of learning or growing, and have been a really curious lifelong learner myself for most of my life, but have only realized not so long ago that the way I learned at school and university, this very theoretical top-down way of learning, hasn't worked for me so well. And also the way that I think we are trained to be very conformist thinkers who who are just bred to be these loyal officials supporting the systems that we have, and maintaining these systems felt really frustrating to me. So this is where where I'm coming to the topic of my learning marathon, which is unlearn, reweld, and remember. And for me, unlearning is a lot about shedding light on the paradigms and the mindsets and the worldviews that we have learned, or that we have been conditioned with, and really questioning which of these are actually useful and are supportive of a healthy earth and life-sustaining future, and the ones that aren't, unlearning these and really thinking what we need to learn instead and how we need to live instead. Rewilding for me has a lot to do with becoming the most alive versions of ourselves, and spreading this aliveness across our landscapes, across our cityscapes, and our communities. And really it's about diversity, biodiversity, aliveness, and not letting ourselves be tamed in any way. And then remembering, for me, so there's this idea in a lot of indigenous cultures that we have received some original instructions about how to live well together on Earth, and how to be in right relationship with each other. But that a lot of us have forgotten how to do that. And I think that we can remember that, and just remember our inner wisdom and our deeper ways of knowing of how to do that. And so that's what these 3 words mean to me. But I'm really hoping to get together a group of very diverse people who this topic somehow speaks to, and it could be quite different to you. And so I'm really hoping that anyone who feels curious about this topic, but also really cares about the state of the world, and wants to somehow contribute towards a more beautiful and healthy and just future, can join. And whether you want to have approached the question from a more philosophical viewpoint, or whether you want to develop some really practical community project, anything is possible. And you're warmly invited.
Thank you, Carolyn. Awesome. Wow. I feel like I really don't want to stop people talking, because I want to know more. It's such a shame to be cutting people off, but hopefully that feels like, people can maybe ask a few more questions. If there's anything else in there that you want to know a little bit more about, please write on the Jamboard. And then we'll come to your question at the end for sure. So we're keeping it punchy with the 3 minutes of talking, so that we can expand a little bit later on. Okay, so last up in this round of hosts presenting is Tina.
Thanks, Anna. And yes, I'm the last one for the first round, so you guys are gonna get a break from us. I just want to say I'm so happy to not only see you guys, also see my fellow host. We spent a couple of weeks in training, and then every time I hear each one's story, we are doing similar things, but we're trying to go deep from different perspectives. So just everything Carolyn, Sam, even though I'm not a dad, and James were talking about, I resonate as well. There's just something deeply resonating from all of us. I guess that's why we're in the same room. So my learning marathon title is Business Unusual. I think 2020 has been unusual for pretty much all of us. Some of us lost our loved ones. Some of us lost our regular job. And some of us are lucky we didn't lose any of those, but we still, I think, to a certain extent, lost our regularity. Like I used to fly crazily, and now I don't. So there's parts of me, I'm missing the old normal, but there's a bigger part of me thinking, no, I don't want the old normal. We need something that is different. And with the space Enroll Yourself created for me, so gradually I come to terms that actually what I want is business unusual. And this is of course in terms of business, but it's also in terms of our daily life. Like I often get into my habits, now realizing it, sleepwalking, and I just want to be able to do it differently. So I want to explain a little bit of my journey as well. I came from corporate background, business background, the business is something important for our life, but it's not enough. And we all know we have to pay the bill, but we're here not only to just pay the bill. So I ventured into discover what can bring meaning into life. So I studied Tibetan Buddhism, yoga philosophy, and now I'm in Israel. I'm also studying a little bit of the Old Testament. There's so much wisdom in the old culture, and how to bring that into my life. I feel I'm living two lives. One is my spiritual life, and one is my work. I know they shouldn't be separate, but the fact is they are separate in my life. So I want a space I can really bring spirituality or faith really into my work. So this is a big question. And I also realize the real practice is in daily life. It's not in the sutras, it's not in the Bible, it's really in our daily life, it's in the marketplace. And I believe the practice is in the business. I think we should make business, make our daily life as our practice. So that's why I'm setting out a learning marathon for business unusual on all fronts, business, personal, and societal. If we feel there's something we could do differently and we don't want to fall into our old habits. And I think that's the same thing Caroline is trying to do and James and Olaf trying to do. So I can see my time is up, and come and visit all of us to see the website, and we love to learn more about you as well. Back to you, Anna.
Love it. Thank you, Tina. Oh, great. Well, that was really enjoyable. Thank you for those hosts who've already spoken. We're going to be hearing from the remaining 4 hosts who are here after the break. We're going to take a 5-minute quick toilet, grab a drink break. And then also we'll give you a few minutes to just write some questions up on the Jamboard. Anything that's coming up, don't worry, you won't be put on the spot or anything when we get to this section. It's literally just to expand a little bit into the topics and the themes of these learning marathons, and also for the hosts to understand what people are really like wanting to know about their learning experiences that they're putting out into the world next year, and the questions that they will have answers to. So yeah, we're going to take a break now. We'll kind of come back to the session for 6:38, and that's after some questions as well.
So we're going to put you in some breakout rooms. If you go to the second page on the Jamboard, you will find 4 questions. We're going to put you into pairs or threes, and we're just going to give you a few minutes. How many minutes have we said? 10 minutes to have a little chat with someone else. And we've got these questions here as prompts. Feel free to use them. You don't have to answer all 4 questions. You could just pick one, see which one you're leaning towards, see which one you want to answer most. Feel free to have a little conversation, get to know someone else, get to hear which learning marathons they might be interested in, and see where your worlds might collide. I've got it all ready, about to press, all ready to press open the breakout rooms. So yeah, I can see some people typing, but if everyone else is ready, I'll put you in. You should have the option to say yes to join, to go into one, and just have a really nice conversation. We'll give you a minute's warning before you come back, so you should know. So have a really good little chat.
Welcome back, everyone. How was that? Did anyone find out any new / wonderful information about their partner, or anything new about themselves? Oh, I saw a nod from Phil. What did you find out, Phil?
We just talked about charitable things that me and wherever that lady's gone, oh there she is, Christina, do in the world, and she was telling me about a singing charity that she does for people who've been homeless. It was all good stuff.
Awesome. A singing charity for homeless people.
Or people who've been affected by homelessness, yes.
Yeah.
So yeah, that exists, and Sheffield probably needs one, so I'll get on with that forthwith.
Amazing. Well, thanks for sharing, Phil.
Okay.
I'm going to check that charity out as well, I think.
Or Choir with No Name, I believe. Which might make them hard to find.
I used to do branding for them. How weird. Wow.
Oh, cool. Well, yeah, thanks everyone for getting involved, having those conversations, hopefully finding out some new and exciting and interesting information about one another, connecting with people who will be hopefully also on these learning journeys next year, maybe even on the same one, who knows. So we're going to hear now from the remaining hosts. And first up, and please remember to continue writing any burning questions that you have on the Jamboard. I'm going to link it again while the first host is talking, so that Julia, you have it, you've just joined. So yeah, please don't be shy. Write as many questions as you have burning around in your brain. But yeah, next up is Imani.
Thank you, Anna. Hi, everyone. I'm Imani, and I'm one of the Learning Marathon hosts, and I'm hosting the Education for Liberation Learning Marathon. I'll give you a little background about who I am, why this theme. So my background's in education and the youth sector, and a lot of the work that I do is often around encouraging children and young people with perceived barriers to learning to pursue their imaginations, and encouraging the adults that engage with them to allow young people to do just that in lots of different spaces other than just school. And I use philosophy and the understanding of exploration of values, morality and purpose to connect and challenge young people and adults to think about what type of person they want to be, who and what influences them, the decisions they make and why. But the opportunity to do this consistently throughout the course of life generally, and connect with the process of broadening and liberating our minds, is often a bit like an appendices to the education system, or only accessible to a select few of people. So if you stick with me on this, if we think of education as engaging with it in the sense of like a Rubik's Cube, the Rubik's Cube has lots of possible solutions, lots of formulas and combinations that lead to the same outcome. But the process of getting there, however, is very different. And the Rubik's Cube appeals to many different types of people because of the endless curiosity and possibility. And education can be a little bit like a puzzle, and bringing out important qualities in each of us, whether that's curiosity, a sense of play, the eagerness to discover a solution, and going on that journey. And the Learning Marathon allows us to embrace our curiosity and find the puzzles that surround us in our everyday lives. And if you're determined, you'll solve the problem. And the Learning Marathon for me is, and hopefully those that join, is about going on that journey to lean into community and connect with people who relate to reimagining education for the future of learning. And there's power in connecting and building with people from across the globe in different geographical perspectives, and going forward and pursuing your passion projects and what you want to unravel and relearn with each other. And whether you're a teacher, a parent, a youth worker, or passionate about culture change and activism, are motivated to remove barriers to education and revolutionize the way we engage with that, then the Learning Marathon will hopefully be for you. So using education as a practice for freedom, and everybody will have their own learning questions. So let's think of it as your metaphorical Rubik's Cube and what you're trying to solve at the moment.
Yes, Amani, thank you so much. Okay, brilliant. Starting strong. Next up is Stella.
Thanks, Anna. Hard act to follow, Imani, I think. I feel like we're, I was saying when you were all talking to each other in your breakout rooms that maybe I'll just like chuck this all in and do everyone else's learning marathons instead of my own, but I'm not actually going to do that. So I'm here because I'm on the hunt for 11 people to join me next year, all of whom are based in Sheffield in the UK. So some of you are in Sheffield, which is fantastic. And if you're not, you can use the next 3 minutes to think of anybody you know who's in Sheffield and point them in my direction too. So I arrived here because I took part in a learning marathon myself in 2018. It was a bit of a spur of the moment thing. I wasn't really sure what it was, but I'd met Zara at an event, thought she was quite cool, was looking for something to do, and there I was. And it turned out to be the most life-changing 6 months of my life to date. It was a magic journey. I made some fantastic friends and I learned so much about myself. And so when the opportunity to bring this amazing program to Sheffield came at my door, I decided to take it. So what I'm looking for is people who want to make a change in the world, who see the myriad of challenges that have come to the forefront in 2020, and maybe feel like they've got a little inkling of what that change might be. They maybe they've got an idea or a perspective or a project that they're working on. And as Zara said in her presentation, I want to bring this amazing group of epic humans together to work on those challenges and ultimately leave the world a better place after doing that. So I'm hoping that it'll at least partly be in person. We'll probably end up doing a hybrid, some online, some in person, but I am really committed to finding people who call Sheffield home, who are interested in what this city and its people can do for Sheffield, for the UK, for the world. And I'm starting in March, so hopefully the northern weather will be kind to us and we can at least do some stuff outside, even if some parts need to be online. And I think the most important thing for me that I want to kind of share with you all, if you're interested or if you're passing this on, is 2020 has not been the year we expected. I think we're all sitting in a different place to where we were in January, and I'd love to be able to work with anyone who's interested to reimagine what their 2021 might be like and how this amazing group of people could help you to get there. And I noticed a question on the board about whether you need to have a question before you start or know exactly where you're going, and I guess my answer to that question would just be get in touch, let me help you find out what your question might be, and together we'll create something magical in this amazing city in 2021. Thanks everyone. Oh, and you can email me. I'll put my email in the chat window.
Thank you, Stella. Yes. Yeah, and we're also going to be doing the marathon listings page link at the end of the event as well. So you can find all of the learning marathons that we've got on offer there too, and see the rest of the Enroll Yourself website, of course. So our penultimate host who's going to be speaking is Janvi. So over to you, Janvi.
Thank you, Anna. All right, hello everyone, and so great to see you this evening. Thank you so much. I'm Janvi, and I'm hosting Our Shared Belonging, which will be a learning marathon all about home and where we find the places we belong. So a little bit about me and my journey here. I'm a learning designer and facilitator, and over the last 8 years, I've been working to empower learners of all ages, build resilience, creativity through cultural rootedness and cultural learning. But more than that, I'm a migrant, I'm multilingual, and over the last 3 years, I've been crafting my home in 3 cities, in 3 countries across the world, from New Delhi, India, to Boston, the USA, and now where I am, Oxford. And in this time, with every culture, language, person that I've encountered, I've had these questions popping up in my mind and my body. What's home? Where do I belong? who am I here? How much of my, Indianness, my migrantness do I maybe need to tone down? And these can be very isolating questions. So instead of giving into that, into these feelings of unbelonging, I joined the Enroll community as a host fellow this year. And, I very quickly realized in this space that with this community, not only could I give myself permission to sit with these uncertainties, but actually build a network of support, of belonging, to ask these questions of home. And as I explored these feelings out loud, I realized that I wasn't alone. And so this is the learning community that I'm gathering. Our shared belonging will be a 6-month, fully online learning marathon for all of us, crossing boundaries, searching for home, community, belonging, or purpose. We'll kick off on the 15th of March, and it will run through till the 10th of September. And over this time, as Ara mentioned, a dozen of us come together with our individual questions around home and belonging, and we'll support each other through the path to grow our ideas into meaningful projects. So yeah, what questions of your place in the world are you asking? Maybe you're living far from those you love, blending many cultures at the same time. Or maybe you're reimagining what home or not having a home means for yourself, for your community, or, not just this year where we've been locked in for months, but in the entire world where we face multiple ecological, socio-political crises. Or maybe you're just tired of self-editing in a society that can't wait to put us in boxes. So our shared belonging will be a space of reflection, experimentation, lots of creativity. It'll be a space where we'll collectively learn how to facilitate connection, craft spaces of belonging, not just for ourselves, but our communities and the world. And this is my invitation. Join me and let's connect across and form bridges across every dimension: identity, power dynamics, age, race, language, geographies, and start building a world where we all belong.
Yes, Janvi, I'm in. Love it. Call to action. Okay, so please keep writing your questions on the Jamboard. And yeah, keep those kind of thoughts flowing around the things that you're hearing from our hosts. And to finish, last but certainly not least, we have Katie.
Hello, I'm zooming in from a very stormy night in France, and the room I'm in doesn't have a ceiling light, so I'm lit very dramatically. It makes the evening Zoom calls very theatrical. My marathon is the Makers Marathon, which is a 6-month online learning marathon for anyone who itches to make and create, so artists and crafty people. And it's come out of two things in my life. One, the fact that I love making. If I'm watching TV, I'm always fiddling with paper and fabric and doing something with my hands. It's the way I make sense of the world. And the second thing is my experience of education. I studied art at school and really, really enjoyed it, but was pretty strong academically. So in the end, I ended up studying history of art. And my experience of university set me up with some really unhelpful work behaviors and a lot of kind of horribly high standards and boom and bust working patterns, which is really punishing. And I carried that into my work life as well as my academic one. And I ended up having quite a big burnout when I was 25 and quit my job, and the same year found Enroll Yourself, which is the most healing and wonderful learning experience that I've ever been part of. The first learning marathon I did was with Zara as a host. And my question was, how can I develop my range of being in the world? Which is really about disrupting the patterns that I had laid down in my childhood and young adulthood. And the invitation in that space was really to explore in any way that I wanted to. So I did life experiments, I made films, I tried clowning and cooking and like jumping into freezing water. I created a sketchbook and kept it for the first time since I've been like 18. And that really brought me back to life. And so my Makers Marathon is a response to that and sort of a hack of the existing Learning Marathon structure, but each workshop that we offer each other. So there's that rhythm of fortnightly workshops that are offered by every member of the community. My idea is that if everyone joining the marathon has a passion to create, then we're kind of creating our own art school for one another. And every workshop will be an opportunity to pick up a new technique and explore our question in relation to a new way of making. So yeah, it's 6 months, it's online, and there is a constraint in the way that we work together, which is that the creative workshops need to be practical for everyone to assemble, like the, I don't know, paper and cardboard or whatever it is they need themselves. So there's kind of a practical constraint there that I think will be really interesting to explore as we create basically online making workshops together. That's me. Was I under time?
You were like literally on time. It's like, yeah. There's smoke coming off these hosts. They're so hot right now. Okay, thank you so much to all of our hosts for giving their presentations. This is your last chance to put your questions up on the Jamboard. We have some juicy ones already, but we could do with some more. So we'll give you just a minute to gather any further questions that you might have, get them down onto a post-it note on that document, and then we'll start, fielding the questions, sending them around the group. So we'll give you 1 minute.
Almost feels like someone should like start singing soft jazz or something whilst people are writing. I'm not volunteering.
You volunteer, yeah.
Maybe Christina, she has a choir, so I hear. So maybe definitely better place than me.
I could do Bow Bow Black Sheep, but I don't know any soft jazz. So.
I'm accompanied by a really noisy shield bug that keeps like launching and like slamming into the window and stuff. It's kind of like jazz percussion.
Okay, that's a minute. So let's go forth with the questions. So Ellie, are you up for taking the lead on this?
Of course. I think it might be good to go to Isabel's question first. Do you have to have a question in mind before applying to the Learning Marathon? I think that's a really good question. I wonder if Zara wants to speak to that one.
Yeah, so yes to that question. It's good to have one in mind, but that doesn't mean that it has to be perfect or final. And I think it's good to view the application process as sort of part of the learning process, actually. And so that process of thinking through what the question might be is your first step on that journey. And many people's questions change throughout the 6-month Learning Marathon. We often see that as a sign that somebody's, doing some real work on that question if it actually changes. So yes to having one in mind, but no, it doesn't need to be perfect.
Great answer. There's another question here saying, have any hosts returned with a new question or as part of another host group? I'll just speak to that really quickly as well. In relation to questions, is that yes, often that question evolves. And then between learning marathons, I think Katie's done 2 learning marathons herself. Other people have done more than one. I myself did a learning marathon back in 2018 or 19, I can't even remember when. And I hosted one last year. So, and yeah, many of the other, I was on the learning marathon with Stella. There we go. There's 2 of us in this room. So yeah, it becomes something that people take forward and it evolves into different things. So yes, is the answer to that question too. Rosie had a question to any or all of the hosts. Was there a particular thing that sparked you deciding to sign up to this program to explore your ideas? I wonder if any of our hosts here today, if a couple of you have an answer to that.
I could go very briefly and give others a chance if they want to add as well. Mine was quite incremental because I just had so many different people in my life that were related to Enroll Yourself. So I just got little sprinkles and sprinkles of Enroll Yourself. And in the last year, I took the leap to kind of get involved because I felt this was the year for me to kind of synthesize all I've been doing and just share it with the wider world. And I felt like, I may not be able to have an opportunity in the years to come. So I felt like I had a short window of opportunity and I really wanted to get a taste of it. That's why I signed up.
I'll go. I first found out about Enroll back in 2018 when there was an Enroll Yourself host who delivered a learning marathon in Birmingham for the first time, but I wasn't able to join because I was just starting my master's degree, and I've been stalking Enroll for a few years as to what they've been doing and seeing all the different things people are journeying with. And this year seemed like the right time to do it when I was put on furlough and stepped into more freelance work and was kind of looking for a community of people who are doing things differently. And that's kind of what Enroll has been like for me, like my new co-working space. So that's kind of what drew me to Enroll and to sign up and say, actually, yeah, I'll be a host as well as go on the journey with everybody else.
There's time, I want to follow up a little bit. Also, there are 2 things for this question came to my mind. One is the structure of a learning marathon doesn't concentrate on the content. There's so much content out there, it's easier to learn. But I find what's difficult is to embody the knowledge. So there's a structure help us to do it. So that's number 1. And number 2 is really accountability. Like we all have a lot of ideas, but we don't, at least me, sorry, speaking for myself, I fail to follow them up. I really need some help from a project, a peer group, a structure. So these 2 are connected, but those are the reasons why I signed up.
Sorry, I was going to chip in as well and say I've done 2 learning marathons already. I would easily do another and another. So for me, it's sort of finding a sustainable way to keep doing learning marathons because they're bloody great.
Perfect. Thanks, Katie. I was about to say we'll hear from one more. So you were the one more. You got in there. Well done. Next question. I think Rosie's question, she's not here, but maybe we can point her in the direction of this. Are there marathons a good way to pick up practical skills about launching and running a project or business, or are they more conceptual, or are they more of a conceptual exploration?
Yeah, I can speak to this one as well. And I think hopefully you've heard that there's a real range of different themes, different vibes. But I think some of the learning marathons are going to be more oriented toward developing those really practical skills and getting a project off the ground. Some of them will be more oriented toward that than others. And I think that if you have a really practical project idea that connects to any of the themes, then it's really worth the conversation with that host to find out whether it's the right space to develop that project. I think the Learning Marathon tends to be a great space for really early project ideas, really early venture ideas. If you're sort of further along the journey of, for example, setting up a business, you might need specific support that a learning marathon doesn't offer, perhaps. But yeah, I mean, based on sort of hearing all of you guys speak, if someone had a business idea, they might want to speak to Tina. If someone had a really practical idea in Sheffield for making something happen there, they'd want to speak to Stella. So I think there's so much sort of a range of choice and space for conceptual and practical as well.
Yeah. Got one more general question, which I think is probably a really good one for us to cover. And then there's a couple more questions that are more direct at particular hosts. Oh, and there's another one popped on the board as well. So this question is from Anonymous. They're trying to work out what Enroll Yourself brings to the table that a group of individuals can't do themselves. I think that's a really good question. Anna or Zara, do you want to answer? Anyone else?
Or maybe someone who's participated. I feel like, yeah, I'm going to not answer that one.
Maybe one for Katie or Stella.
Go on, Katie. You look like you.
No, I feel like I've spoken a lot. I'm happy to talk about it a bit. I can't, if the question is about like why not do this in a less structured way, I think my response would be that there have been 12 learning marathons now and 140 people that have gone through, and there's something about like the rhythm and the structure and the holding that comes with doing this through a trained host. Even though the hierarchy is flat, there's something about the structure that is really generative and allows people to be held in a fairly like serious and rigorous inquiry over a period of time. And again, the fact that it's a limited period of time really adds to that too. I think even as like for the 2 learning marathons that I've done, people still go AWOL, but somehow everyone kind of manages to get to the end of it in form of growth. So I think there's a lot to be said for doing it this way than trying to go it alone. And I think if you did develop something as a group of individuals, it would probably end up looking something like what Enroll is. It's just 3 years down the line.
Stella, would you like to add anything?
I was gonna, having Stella won't answer, build on that as well. I mean, I think what the process gives you is 11 other heads and hearts and hands. So you could develop a learning question on your own and you would have, you know, your perspective, and you might call on other perspectives along the way. But I think what this gives you is access to those heads and hearts continually, repeatedly, regularly over a 6-month process. And that brings all of these different perspectives and all of these different ideas. It's a little bit like a cauldron, because all of those ideas are interacting and popping off all of those other ideas all the time. And that produces something that you can't get on your own in the same way. And I think the other thing that that really produces is momentum. And I think we talk about accountability sometimes, but actually it's more about momentum with the learning marathon, because once you get to know those other people, you have quite a lot of accountability at the start. Once you get to know them and you become friends, some of that sort of hard accountability lessens, but what comes in place of that is this momentum where actually you're really feeding off one another's ideas and one another's exploration. So yeah, idea generation power, and also solidarity and laughter as well is the other thing I would mention. You won't get so much of that on your own.
Perfect. The last question. How long have we got, by the way, Anna? Just to keep on time.
It's 7:18, so another 6 minutes of questions.
Smash through these. Question from Christina is about what would you say the minimum time capacity that would be needed to effectively engage and participate in a learning marathon, from someone who's worried about overstretching potentially. I know how you feel. I can field this one slightly, but I think in a way it depends slightly on different learning marathons. Some might have slightly different patterns and might require a bit more or less time. But in general, we say that 5 hours a week will cover a couple of hours for a meetup. The alternative weeks, there are buddy meetups. So again, you probably need a couple of hours for that, plus or minus. And then you need time to work on your own question as well. So whether that's you exploring something or developing a project towards the end or making something towards the showcase. So 5 hours in general, but some weeks that'll be a bit less, some weeks that'll be a bit more. And it tends to fit really nicely around other things as well. So it comes in waves. We can never sort of keep that same pace. There'll be some weeks where you're really motivated and other weeks where you will feel like you can't do anything. And, you know, it's a 6 month or 5 month or 4 month journey. It's not just a couple of weeks. So yeah, that sort of ebbs and flows along with it as well, along with your life. Okay, next question. There's a question for Katie. Does everyone who joins your peer group need to be ready with a skill or craft to teach the rest of the group?
I would say not at all. I think it feels quite clear from my learning marathon that it's going to appeal to people who already like making stuff. So I guess the main thing is a desire to do that. What I think will be interesting about it, if people have a learning marathon, a learning question that's kind of separate or parallel to the work that they're doing, and then they can explore that through a range of techniques, like that idea really excites me. But it could be that someone is applying who's a professional artist who has a question like, how can I make my craft into my business, or that type of thing, for whom the making might be more a side thing, and it's the community and the sort of funneling part of a learning marathon that's exciting. So in response, no, not at all. I think it's been touched on lightly that in the kickoff weekend, there's an activity where everyone kind of comes up with a few ideas for a workshop that they could run that would be valuable to the group, but would be a stretch and like a growth opportunity for them to design and run. So that's sort of like the spirit of offering these things to one another, that it's like for everyone, but also a chance for you to grow. So yeah, no requirements, no portfolio needed at application, but more just sort of like an itch to do this and share and try out new things.
So the last question I will come to, someone's already put a link as an answer to it, but I'm going to direct everyone's attention there. The question is, I'm sure questions are very different across a big range of topics and levels, from professional to private, which is very true. But could we share a few examples? It's still really difficult to think about framing a question. I know I can really relate to that. But if you go to the Jamboard, and I'll put this in the chat as well, you can have a look in the Huddlecraft yearbook. What do we call it? A yearbook / manifesto / many other things. You can take a look in, in the yearbook, in Huddlecraft, and there we go. Anna's just pasted it in. There's also a blog post about a learning question. We've got a really helpful matrix that you can think about questions from sort of more personal angles, whether you're going very niche with a question or quite wide. And there's also that learning question generator, which you can find on the website, which you can play around with questions in. So if you're not quite sure how to frame it, there's lots of drop down things, little gaps in how you might, what words you might place in with things that you're interested in to form that question. So I think that's probably about it for questions. There's a couple of more personal questions that are on the right hand side of that Jamboard. If your names are on it, perhaps the hosts can answer those privately themselves.
And the person that put the question to me, pop their name on, please, so I know who you are. Thank you.
They have
already. It's on the bottom.
It's Katie Todd.
Hi, Katie. I'll message you.
There is one more question, which I don't think we've covered, which was, what's the most important thing you think you want to unlearn?
Oh,
Which I
sorry.
really enjoy that. I'm enjoying that question. What's the most important thing you think you want to unlearn? And I'm wondering whether just for the last few minutes we could hear from Janvi and Sam to share their answers on that one. Janvi, do you want to go?
Yeah, sure. What are the things that I want to unlearn? I think, again, kind of drawing back on my journey where, I'm kind of at the moment negotiating with who I am as someone kind of establishing home and questioning that idea. I think I do need to unlearn a lot of the things in my culture that kind of tell me who I should be, and how I should fit in, and why boxes that society kind of creates are important. And I think that's what I'm trying to unlearn right now. The fact and learn the fact that it's okay to bring my whole self to any situation, to any conversation, and not hold myself back. Yeah, that's what I'm unlearning.
Thanks, Janvi. And Sam, did you want to share on that one as well?
What I'd like to unlearn, I would like to unlearn Western civilization. No, specifically, I named my marathon Collective Fatherhood. I'm really interested in collectivity, more general, and unlearning like individualism, essentially. Whether that's in relation to education, my experience of education was a very isolated one. One of the things that really appeals to me about Enroll Yourself is it's a much more collaborative model. Or whether it comes to the family, which I think we live in a very atomized, isolated way, which is very, very strange, like both globally and historically. It's just very weird that it's not that it's weird that it's normal, and so I definitely want to unlearn that, and I problematize individualism and our sense of ourselves as individuals, as isolated and disconnected from each other as well as nature, right? So yeah, that's what I would like to unlearn.
Maybe I'll also say something about that question, because it's also tied to my the topic of my marathon. And for me, it's a little bit similar to what Sam said. There's so many things I would like to unlearn, but if I had to say one thing, then I think it is something around a Western mindset of extractivism, like always trying to get something out of what I'm doing, out of relationships, always like seeking some kind of personal benefit. And maybe rather than that, entering into a more kind of reciprocal way of relating, of like giving gratitude, and not always just thinking of how I can use something or get something out of what I'm doing. And so maybe also just in relationship to that, I think I will have my own learning question within my theme, which will be looking at how I can be more in reciprocity with the wider web of life. And I think it will be nice to also for myself as a host to have that question within the wider team that will then within the wider theme, which will then maybe also tie more directly to some of the other questions that participants might have.
Thank you, Carolyn. Awesome. Well, we're coming to the end of our open night. Thank you so much, everyone, for being here, for your interest, for your intrigue, for your curiosity, for your questions, for your time. Really hoping that some of you embark on one of these amazing learning journeys next year, or more than one, who knows, if you're super keen. And just to check out, we would like for you to write in the chat one thing that you're going to do as a result of having come here this evening. So what you might do next. It could be that you want to express interest to someone. It could be that you're telling someone else about a learning marathon. It could just be that you go and get into nature and unlearn a little bit. So yeah, if you could just write a few words in the chat to check out what you're going to do next. Okay, if there's any more checkouts. Oh, there's some lovely ones. Yeah, get a Rubik's Cube, Sam, absolutely. Oh, there's some wonderful checkouts. Thank you, everyone. Yeah, so many connections being sparked, lots of sharing, lots of spreading the word out into the universe. Thank you very much. Okay, thanks to all of the hosts. Thanks to all of you for being here. Thank you to Zara for being here and Ellie. And yeah, hope you have a wonderful rest of your evening. I'm just going to copy the link in here for the marathon listing so you can get in touch with the hosts. And yeah, keep expressing your interest and share them far and wide. But yeah, thank you very much for being here, everyone.
Thanks, everyone.
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 Bye.
Thank you so much, everyone.